Welcome to BTEC Revision. In today's lesson, we're looking at the cosine rule. By the end, we will be able to calculate the sides or angles of a non-right angled triangle using the cosine rule. What is the cosine rule and when do we use it? Here is the equation for the cosine rule. We have a squared equals b squared plus c squared, take away 2bc cos a. This can be used to work out angles or sides of a non-right angled triangle. One thing to note here is if you wanted to work out the side A, then you would need the sides B and C and the angle capital A. Let's look at an example. Let's take B equal to 10 centimeters. Let's take C equal to 6 centimeters. And we'll take capital A to be equal to 20 degrees. Plugging in our values into the equation, we can see A squared is equal to B squared, so that's 10 centimeters squared, plus 6 centimeters squared, take away 2 times b, which is 10, times c, which is 6, cos 20 degrees. Remember, when plugging in the value 20 degrees, make sure the unit in the calculator is set to degrees. And this gives us a value of 23.2 to 3 significant figures. Square rooting our answer, we can get our value for a. Therefore, a is equal to 4.82, and the unit we're going to use is centimeters in this case. The reason why we use centimeters is because our values for A and C are used as centimeters. Therefore, our answer is going to be in centimeters. Should we decide to use millimeters instead, then we need to make sure that all the lengths we plug into the equation are in millimeters, and therefore our answer will be in millimeters. And the same thing with meters. Now let's look at the second equation. This can be used to work out the angle, and I can show you how to derive this equation. So we'll take this term on the right, move it towards the left, and we'll take the left term, move it towards the right. So that will give us a value 2bc cos A is equal to b squared plus c squared, take away a squared. Then we can divide both sides by 2bc, and 2bc on the left side will cancel out, and we are left with cos A is equal to b squared plus c squared, take away a squared, all over 2bc. This equation can be used to work out an angle. Let's take angle A. In order to work out angle A, we will need B, C, and A. So we will need all three sides to work out the angle. So let's try an example. Let's take B to be equal to 10 centimeters, C is equal to 10 centimeters, and we'll take A is equal to 8 centimeters. Plugging in these values into our equation, we can get B is 10 squared plus C 10 squared, take away A is 8 squared, divided by 2 times B, which is 10, times C, which is also 10. And that's equal to 0.68. Now, that's cos A is equal to 0.68. So we will need to take the inverse cos of 0.68 to work out the angle. Now, depending on what mode you set the unit in your calculator, if we use degrees, we will get A is equal to 47.1 degrees. Now, pause the video here and attempt this question. Now, the question is asking about the angle A, so we're going to use our second variation, cos A is equal to b squared plus c squared, take away a squared, divided by 2bc. Now we can see opposite the angle B, we have the length lowercase b. And opposite the angle C, we have the length lowercase c. So we can say the same with A. Opposite the angle A, we have the length lowercase a. Now we can plug in our values. B is 10 millimeters squared plus C, which is 9 millimeters squared, take away A, which is 9 millimeters squared, divided by 2 times B, which is 10, times C, which is 9. And that equals 5/9. And cos A is equal to that. So to work out A, we'll take the inverse cos, 5/9, and that gives us 56.3 degrees to 3 significant figures. Now let's look at a second example. Pause the video here and attempt this question. This one we can see we have to calculate the side length A. So we would use the first variant of the equation. A squared is equal to B squared plus C squared, take away 2bc cos A. Plugging in our values, B we know is 10 squared, plus C, which is 9 squared, take away 2 times 10, because B is 10, times our C value, which is 9, times cos, and our angle is 20 degrees. This gives us a value of 11.9, and that is A squared. So square rooting our answer to get our A value, you can see A is equal to 3.44 millimeters for the final answer. Now pause the video here and attempt this exam question. The first thing we should do is to draw a diagram. We can see two people, A and B, start off at the same position and then move off in straight lines at angles pi/2. So you can see here is the position of person A. It started off at the origin, let's call it O. And here is the position of person B. And they make an angle of pi/2. After a time, they have traveled 1 kilometers and 2 kilometers respectively. So we can say this person has traveled 1 kilometer, this person has traveled 2 kilometers. Make this line a little bit bigger. Now we need to calculate the distance between person A and person B. So we will use this line here, dashed line, to represent the length that we need to calculate. So we can see which equation we will have to use. We use the one for length, that is a squared equals b squared plus c squared, take away 2bc cos A. Now we can see which would be a sensible value to choose for A, and that would be this value, which is our question, because we have the angle opposite, which is our capital A, and we have our B value and C value. We can choose which ones those should be. It doesn't matter which one. We can decide, let's say, the one on the left here to be our B value, and then this is going to be our C value. Okay, now we can just plug in all our values. So we know B squared, that's 1 kilometer squared, plus C squared is 2 kilometers squared. Take away 2 times 1 times 2 cos pi/2. 2. Now remember, we're using radians here, pi over 2, so therefore we need to make sure we set our calculator unit in radians. And this gives us a value of 5, and that's a squared. So square rooting would give us our final answer of a is equal to square root of 5 kilometers. Or we can write this as 2.24 kilometers to three significant figures.